Boys screws loose, they done stripped the bolts on them. Shoulda never sent them to pick up the work for me. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all goners. Tech cursive on the chest, he was gonna Sean John them. They was sleeping on the god, then it dawned on them.
All right. Greetings, Chudlings. Welcome to another episode of Chuddy's Corner. It is Friday, December 6th, and the Celtics complete the season sweep, kill the Bucks, 111-105, kill them dead. This is a very exciting game, though. 21 different lead changes throughout the game. Tatum ends up with 34, 10, and 5. Great game by him. Jalen, 25 points. Jrue Holiday busts out, gets a 20-point game against his former team. Bucks kind of were in control of this game. It felt like, well, maybe not in control, but in the lead at least for a while in this game. And the Celtics kind of in the fourth quarter, but just kind of turning on, outscoring by 10 in the fourth to get the win. Chuddy, what'd you think watching this game? This was probably one of the more exciting games, I think, of the year. Intense games for sure.
Yeah, awesome game. I would say best game of the year, start to finish. I would say hands down. The intensity was on another level. We've said there were other games or other stretches of games that felt like a playoff atmosphere. I'd say this felt like it from the tip. Already played the Bucks twice, so it was kind of weird going in last time we played them in the season. Third meeting with them already, only like 21st game of the year. So obviously got a lot of familiarity going years back, but already this season to be going back and forth like that. We played them twice early in the year. They were obviously struggling. They've turned things around a bit, so they wanted to come out, prove a point. You could tell this one meant a little extra to them. Obviously, they had the return of Chris Middleton too. Friday night, 7:45, little late tip because of the ESPN game.
Yeah.
And you could tell, I thought the crowd sounded like they were juiced, ready to go right from the opening tip. No Porzingis, but other than that, lineup fully intact. Tatum coming off the night off. Jrue Holiday obviously had a few days off. I thought it showed. They looked fresh. Everyone looked fresh. I thought Celtics came out buzzing. Good first quarter back and forth. Then obviously the second quarter, ice cold, just could not make a three. Literally, first quarter all season, 0 of 12 from three. Did not make a three. Mostly good looks. Just, it happens, I guess. Just straight up variance. Then third quarter, when it got chippy, right out the gate, I think the Celtics kind of needed that. It felt like things were like a little just kind of flat in the game after all the lack of threes. It felt like the crowd was a little slow getting back to their seats. We had a little mix-up with Jalen and Giannis right away. The texts were flying. Things were getting crazy. Refs kind of lost control of the game, I thought, for a little bit in that stretch. It was just back and forth, like straight, really physical, really a battle. That's what it felt so intense for a regular season game, middle of the third quarter. It was like, a game can't get much more intense than this. And then in the fourth quarter, like you said, the Celtics just turning it on, closing the game on a 16-6 run. It was a 12-3 run until Middleton hit those 3 free throws. So that started with 6:05 to play in the fourth quarter. The Celtics only allowed 3 points for almost 6 straight minutes down the stretch. So it really, that was kind of the story of the game. It was the defense, and then taking it home with clutch buckets on a night where they attempted 51 threes. The shot was not falling, but they stuck with it, kept playing the right way, getting good offense. It just closed this game out masterfully for really, really impressive win on a night where we didn't have it, but still made all the big plays late. Awesome win. I'm fired up, if you can't tell.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was a game. I was getting fired up. I think it's just, like you said, where it got pretty intense there. It felt like the refs, like you said, were losing a little bit of control in this game. There was a lot of kind of like fouls or fouls not called. Like it was kind of hilarious. Like we can get into this later. Like they're so unethical, the Bucks, the way they play basketball. But it was just so funny how there was like, I think 3 or 4 different times when Dame would get like a foul, like trying to just draw some like foul, but they'd call it on the floor. So that was like pretty hilarious. I think that's where the game really almost kind of lost control. There was a point when like both coaches were yelling at the refs, like Dame was yelling at a ref, like, and it was because they initially called the Dame shot, 3 foul shots, and they called it changed over to being on the floor.
Clearly the right call.
Definitely the right call. Yeah, this game was just I don't really know where I want to be. I guess I can just start with that because it's just, I mean, this Bucks team, I've heard, they've been playing better or whatever, but I can't just imagine this being like what you root for, the way they play. Just kind of all the trying to draw fouls. And I mean, I get that that's part of the game. Like you got to do some of it, but there are just so many times when they're clearly not even trying to do anything. Like they'll drive towards the hoop, wind up like too far away from the hoop to actually put up a shot, and just fling themselves up and they get the calls. And it was just a brutal kind of when it was like that, like 3-point game for a while there and we couldn't really catch up to them. It was just so frustrating because so much of it was just this like super unethical basketball. It was just kind of brutal to watch the Bucks, to be honest. I was kind of disgusted the whole time watching this game.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, but just to clarify, like you mean you're mostly just saying Dame, right? So I feel like that's like Giannis.
I'd say Dame and like Giannis to an extent. I wouldn't say
is like baiting. I'd say he's just physical as shit, and that's more just on the refs. It's like he basically dares.
I mean, I'll grant that. I guess
just in terms of like the unethical. But yes, I'd say you're 90%. It's Dame, and it's to me it's frustrating because I feel like he doesn't need to do it. Like in the first half, he was just locked in, and you saw that was like clutch. That was like Dame time. Like he was locked in from the tip. He was making step backs, and he was reminding you just why he is. And always has been so good. Yeah. He gets an inch of space on a night like this, and he is making it. But yeah, I think it almost worked to his detriment because he was so hot, and it was like he just got too into the foul baiting game. It reminded me of old, like almost James Harden, Trae Young, where like you said, it's like he's not even really trying to score. He's just trying to get the slightest bit of contact. He was getting the call, but he fell a bit in love with that too much. And I think down the stretch that hurt him because it was like they forgot
he
how to get real
down
offense.
The stretch.
Yeah, and the refs let him play.
Yeah, he had that one play where I think it was in the fourth quarter where he just clearly was trying to draw a foul on a three. They didn't call it, so it was just a terrible shot. Got rebounded. Tatum just got it and sprinted down the floor and just got like an easy take right to the basket. And to me, it's like that's the perfect like juxtaposition or whatever of the two styles of play because I just feel like we never play like that. And I'm just when you see it in this way, it really does just kind of make you take a step back and be so thankful. Like I know people say the way we shoot threes is whatever, but I would so much rather be generating great open looks for threes than that style of play. Because I do agree with you. I think he was playing great to start the game, and then he fell so in love with just trying to draw these fouls. And then once they weren't going, it just he could never really get it back. And I always liked Dame. I loved him like when he was in Portland. I love like the Dame time, the buzzer beater. I forget what playoff series that was or whatever, but
two of them.
This was just like it was so frustrating to watch because it just was. I don't know. I was just thinking like as a Bucks fan, I can't imagine the mental gymnastics you have to do to justify this. It was so brutal.
Yeah, it was brutal.
I'm so glad they did it. It's why this game has started to mean more to me because I was like, we can't lose
a little bit
to that, like to this style of play.
Right. And well, like I said, it was like he got himself out of a rhythm trying to like do that too much. He stopped what was working and got too bogged down into that. And again, he was getting some of the calls, which was frustrating. And yeah, I mean, sometimes there is contact, but like you said, that's just going to catch up with you. But it's so funny. You mentioned kind of the juxtaposition of styles, but it's like this was an issue with the Celtics a few years ago. And we were the ones who would get fucked up by the officiating. And on a night tonight where it seemed like for a while, the whistle really wasn't going our way. We easily could have gotten our own heads, but you're right. It's like we adjusted and we were like, all right, they're letting us play with this physicality. Let's go. We amped up our physicality. And again, that's completely turned off their water for an entire last 6 minutes of the game. They could not score a basket. And that's where the game was won. And that just speaks to the team that we've become in the last few years. And it's pretty incredible to just watch that transformation happen and see how excellently we handled that. And especially Tatum, a guy who for years, that was a legitimate talking point of some people that the refs get too in his head. He's too in love with drawing the foul. He was unbelievable in the fourth quarter tonight. He had 14, 4, and 3 in the fourth quarter. He was 5 of 5 from the field. He was perfect from the 3-point line. And it just seemed like he made the right play. He got a few of those threes. They started doubling him every possession. He was making the right pass time after time. One of the best probably all-around games and definitely one of the best quarters of his career. And I mean, unbelievably clutch performance. He maybe didn't have that one like signature play down the stretch of this one, but he just had made every right play for like
I think all those the signature plays kind of came in those first few possessions of the fourth. Because like you said, they started to double team him, but when he first came out, because it felt like he was out for a while in the third. I might have just noticed it kind of late, but towards the end of the third, I was kind of like, where's Tatum? Like,
it was interesting to note that this hasn't been the case, I don't think all season long, but it was like Joe went back to an old substitution pattern. He took out Tatum at the 6-minute mark of the first and third quarter.
Yeah.
And then played him for the entire second and fourth quarter. I don't know if he did that, maybe because it seemed like Jalen was in such an insane zone in the first quarter that he was just like,
that's what they were saying on the broadcast.
I think I have to leave Jalen in now. But it did seem like it kind of took the Celtics out of their rhythm because Tatum had it going too a little bit. And then, it did seem like a long rest early. Again, and after then that fourth quarter, it's hard to question it. But.
He comes out in the fourth quarter and immediately just gets the ball, and you could tell as soon as he had it, he wants the shot. takes a three, drills it,
Yep.
comes back down the next possession again, kind of does some moves, shoots a three, gets the 3 and 1 for a 4-point play. So just like a quick 7 points to start the fourth quarter right away. And then from then on, like you said, he was making just the right plays.
Every
he wasn't doing it exactly. From then they were throwing the heat at him, and he was making great plays. Still managed to kind of do his thing. It was an unreal Tatum fourth quarter, unreal Tatum game, like you said, 35. What do you have? 35, 10, and 5, I think, or something like that. So
and some of that, I feel like that's not indicative of the passing. I thought it was one of the best passing games I've ever seen him have. A lot that didn't go down as assists, but like a lot of hockey assists, a lot of potential assists, and some of the assists he did have were just absolute like
the one to Keita, that little
dimes.
bounce pass to Keita for the
one of the best
passes
of his career to with the left hand bounce pass right between the two defenders off pick and roll. Tight window. That was unbelievable, but it just seemed like he was in total control, and I think only one turnover to the entire game. Super efficient shooting night from all three levels. He was just like clearly the best player on the court for 48 minutes on a night where Giannis was on the court.
Yeah, he had 34 points. I said 35. He had 34, but
34, 10, and 5. Yeah. But no, he was 35. The clear, I would say, best player on the court tonight, which is pretty awesome to say.
Yeah. I do think, too, I loved, like you mentioned it a little bit, the physicality that Jalen was playing with, the way he came out. It definitely feels like we've mentioned it a couple times on the pod, that he's sort of taking on this sort of like almost like enforcer role for them. Obviously, him and Giannis had some issues in the last game. He called Giannis a child. They had their whole little mix-up. They had another one of those tonight. Jalen just kind of gets a strong finish over Giannis. Not a dunk, like a layup finish over Giannis. Gives Giannis the too little.
He shook him. He straight shook him, crossed him right up.
Yeah. It gives him the too little. Giannis kind of throws a little elbow at Jalen. Jalen sort of kind of gives him a little shove back. They start drawing. Jalen gets the tech. I definitely want to I have a rant about the refs, about not just that play, but more in general. We'll get to that. But I thought even taking that tech, even I'm okay with it, because it's, again, I just feel like Jalen is sort of picking up this spot as like, don't fuck with this team. Like, don't fuck with my guys here. And he had a great game too. Yeah, I mean, he had 25 points too. He shot pretty well. So this was like just a great Jalen game. The Stars, great game for both the Jays.
Both Jays, but it was felt old school. Where it was like Brown coming out and like opening it, getting it started, and Tatum closing the deal. But the way Brown came out, it was like, and I had kind of forgotten about the child comment and the cheap shot, the last game situation. Like, I forgot that there was bad blood, and it was immediately like, oh shit, there is bad blood. He was going right at him aggressively, and I think the refs missed that little chicken wing by Giannis. Which Giannis, I mean, I don't know. Jalen was an aggressive, too small, right in his face. Giannis gave him the kind of chicken wing, and then Brown he wasn't really pushing back. He was just pointing like right in his face multiple times. He was almost like daring the ref to call it, of like I'm making a point of getting this tech to show you that, like, that was another fucking cheap shot you just took at me. I haven't heard his post-game comments, but I'm sure he'll say something else hilarious about Giannis after this one. But yeah, it was all night, and he had a few of those plays, like you said. He had that one where he picked up Dame full court too out of nowhere, and was just like, I'm not letting you dribble past me. Forced him to like dive on the floor and knock it away. Like, that was in like the first quarter, picking up Dame full court.
Love that, yeah. And anytime you see a full court press.
Well, yeah, and it's not like, oh, like someone shitty and random has the ball, let's go like sneaky trap them. It was like Dame has the ball and like, fuck you, I'm just picking you up, and like you're not getting past me. Like,
just throw this.
You could tell he was on a different level, and I think that set the tone early. And then the Bucks responded. They brought it again from the jump, like we said. They've been clowned on a lot. I think they viewed this as a real measuring stick. Everyone's been saying, they've been playing great.
I'll give them credit.
They did. I feel like we just basically took their best punch, and that's, as much as right now everyone out there is giving the Bucks their flowers for a great moral victory and how they proved something. I'd almost go the other way. They played, I would say, about as well as they can, gave us their best shot. Celtics shot like absolute dog shit, and still got the win. So without
I don't see this as a moral victory. No way. I think this was because I think they had us beat. Like, we weren't shooting well. This was about as bad as a shooting night as we could have for a while.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. If they're not going to win,
they sucked.
Right. If they're going to get crumbled. A game to go like that and they're still not going to win it, then it's just like, Jesus, what do they need? How many things do they need to go their way for them to actually beat this team?
I think, way more than whatever they got.
Well, and they got a lot.
Credit to the Bucks, because I do think that they're just playing a little bit better. It does feel like they're taking more threes, obviously not to the level that we take threes, but I don't think anyone's really going to be at that level. But I feel like they were taking more threes. I think teams are kind of wisening up a little bit to that. So they were 11 for 29. We finished 17 for 53. I feel like there was a few times throughout the game where they're basically scoring as many threes as us with like 10 fewer attempts.
In the first half,
Obviously, a lot of that came in that second quarter.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah, I mean, it looks like they did definitely figure things out. This didn't look like the same Bucks team that we played a couple
Certainly
weeks
more.
ago. But I still
well-
don't think, I don't see it as like a moral victory because, like you said, this was probably their best effort and our worst effort, and we still ended up getting the
I wouldn't
win,
say our
so.
worst effort, just bad shooting night. But
Oh yeah, I guess worse like shot. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not going to get they're going to get another night like this against
off
us.
night. Yeah, exactly. No, so I mean, again, it's not even really like a knock on the Bucks. I think that's just who they are. They just don't have enough good players, and the ones they have are all pretty old. Like I thought, again, like keep saying, Dame. They can't ask for a much better game from Dame. Giannis was not great, but he's when Al plays like
He's
that,
just
like
good.
that's
It's just
yeah, exactly. Giannis is always Giannis. He's always really good, but he's still like will live with that kind of game from him, I guess. And then, when Lopez sits, my God, the drop off, like I said last game, I think it's just crazy how much they like need another decent backup center because it's pretty crazy when he goes out. And again, we didn't even have Porzingis tonight to really take advantage of that. But yeah, I thought Middleton actually looked pretty good for them too in his first night back. I mean, he's at this point in his career, it's not like he's going to come back and be some third star like he was once upon a time. But I mean, I thought he looked solid. Like they should be encouraged by that. And I think you saw AJ Green, that kid can shoot. Doc finally started playing him. Andre Jackson Jr. gives him a little athleticism. But yeah, at the end of the day, it still seems like they're a few guys short and they just don't really have the means to go and add anything. So good game, fun game, but now crazy to think, barring a playoff matchup, we won't see this team again this season.
Yeah, this is a quick aside. Like, how do we determine how many times you play a team? Because I thought I was asked this question and I just it was one of those things where it's like, well, if I just sound smart enough, I'll sound right. And I said, I think we play our division 4 times, our conference 3 times.
That's right.
We played the Hornets 4 times this year. They're not in our division. So there's some teams that you do, yeah. So it's not exactly. Okay, all right. So it's not a well-known thing
too, because of the cup has frigged it up a little bit too.
Yeah. So, but neither of those have been cup games. But yeah, because I thought that, and then I realized, and it's weird. We played the Hornets both times. We played them 4 times this year. Both of them are back-to-backs. We played them already back-to-back. We played them again back-to-back.
Wow.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But so yeah. All right. So we don't know the answer to that. We'll have someone maybe let us know what that is. Because I couldn't figure out. I was like, yeah, I guess we won't play the Bucks 3 times.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds about right, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's exactly what you said, but I think the math just isn't quite perfect, so there are a few oddities that are just like random, I think, each year, but generally that, like you said, you play your division teams
it is that.
4. Yeah. And then Western Conference teams, you play twice, once at home, once on the road.
Yeah, that one I knew. That one I knew was law, but.
Yeah, it just doesn't perfectly math, so there you go.
Yeah. Not great math. Jrue, how about Jrue Holiday tonight? It was kind of good. He's sort of had some quiet, like at least scoring nights. I feel like and again, we've seen Pritchard kind of finishing games instead of Jrue Holiday. He had some rest, coming off some rest. He looked really great. Obviously, extra motivation going against his old team. Finishes with 20 points. Had a pretty big dagger at the end, a little mid-range shot that felt like a dagger at the time. Then the 3-pointer with Middleton happened, but it ended up not really mattering.
Still basically a dagger.
Still a dagger, yeah. It's still qualified as dagger. So yeah, it was good to see Jrue kind of get himself back. Hit a couple corner threes. I know that's something that this year hasn't been as automatic as last year. So hopefully, just seeing the ball go through the net. I do think offensively, he hasn't it's not like he was lighting up the stat sheet last year. He was playing a really solid role. Like we used to always say, his stat line is basically just like 12 to 16 points, like 5 to 8 rebounds, and 4 to 7 assists. And I feel like he just, the scoring wise hasn't been there, but it was nice to see him have a game like this. Cause I know I saw, some people kind of like, what's up with Jrue, but good to see him get a nice bounce back game.
Definitely good to see. And I think I wouldn't say even when he wasn't playing great, I would never say I was concerned about Jrue after just watching what he did in the playoffs. And at this point, if anything, I feel like he's kind of almost reached the status of the guard version of Al Horford, where it's you could just basically take the regular season off, show up on some nights like this, don't play back-to-backs. I mean, the difference in him being well rested, I thought was tangible.
Very noticeable, yeah.
And again, the breakout of Pritchard onto the scene has made him not expendable, but we can certainly afford to give him nights off anytime we want. So I'm kind of, like I said, where I'm at with Al, where it's just big game, get him an extra night off. I have 100% confidence he's going to show up and we're going to see awesome Jrue Holiday. Yeah. But I'm not expecting him to bring it for 82 games in the regular season at this point, and luckily we don't need that. So great luxury to have. But yeah, like I said, well rested and big game against his whole team. You saw exactly what you'd want to see from Jrue. Pretty clear that guy's still there. And then speaking about Horford too, I mean, obviously a guy.
Hold on, can I say something quickly about Jrue?
Yeah.
Because this isn't related to the game, but I think of Jrue as like almost like you said, like almost like an Al Horford, like elder statesman, like father, family man, like this mature, like old guy. I looked it up today, and I'm 2 months older than Jrue Holiday. That was like a total.
Wow.
I was like, oh shit! I literally view him as like.
He's ancient.
Wow, I wish I could grow up one day to be like Jrue Holiday. I'm 2 years older than him, dude. Oh, it's brutal.
That's awesome.
Tough.
That is awesome.
Shout out Jrue Holiday. Yeah. He's got it all together. Good for him.
He does. He's got it all figured out.
Anyway.
Maybe when we grow
Al
up.
Horford, though.
Yeah. But no, I mean that's a great transition into Horford because it's the same thing. I mean, we saw tonight, that Giannis Al matchup. You always see the best Al, and he just brought it and played the entire first quarter. Can't remember the last time that's happened. I think matched minutes with Giannis, minute for minute.
Yeah, I think that's what they were basically doing. Anytime Giannis was out, he was out.
And again, like we said, Giannis, the guy's amazing. He's going to get his, but we made him work for it and, turned him into a shooter, which is really all you can ask for. He made a few of those mid-ranges, but you will live with it every single time. And then really the moment of the game as that game was kind of on the seesaw going back and forth in the last few minutes. And we get Giannis. It's funny, too, because I had in my notes that I thought one of the things I was impressed by Giannis was that he had just cut out like the dumb 3-pointers just because he's almost like
and then
bored.
he chose the worst time ever.
And then exactly with like a minute left, he just dribbles into a 3 early for no reason whatsoever.
So dumb.
And then doesn't get back on defense. Tatum pushes it out. Al buries with the dagger, put us up by 4 with a minute left, and that was kind of like the biggest play of the entire game. And it was just the whole time I had been thinking like he's done such a good job with his shot selection.
Not doing that.
Just not doing that thing that in years past it felt like 3 or 4 times a game. It was like once a quarter you could count on him basically just kind of getting too bored and being like, I'm just going to dribble up and shoot 3. And if you're the fan of the other team, you're like, sweet, that's like a free possession where we didn't have to work.
That whole sequence got me out of my seat because when you put that 3 up, I was like, okay, I live with that. And then 100%. When they got it up to Al and Al had just open shot and he took it, and he nailed it. It's like, hell yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm looking for.
That was awesome. That was absolutely awesome.
That was sick. That was so sick. But yeah, they both played 36 minutes, Giannis and Al. So I really think it was exactly like shadowing his minutes.
Which
I love.
Amazing that the Al Horford is still seemingly the only guy in the league who can pretty much do that to Giannis. Unreal. So it's just so crazy to see. But I mean, again, it was a fun matchup. Felt like a playoff game, and that's why. As much as we say, no matter what with the Bucks, as long as they got that dude Giannis, like. Still going to get up for that one, and they can
he
still
did look
anytime.
At some points just like he can just score whenever he wants at some points.
And even like Tatum got switched on to him, and Tatum obviously is huge and a beast and guard centers and this and that, and Giannis basically just backed him down like you're not stopping me without fouling me, little man. It's just like as big and jacked as we think Tatum is. It's like Giannis is a fucking monster.
Yeah, he's just crazy. You got anything else from this game?
Yeah, we'll mention too, just cool to see the Celtics pull it out. We talked about how good the stars and kind of the 2 vets were. Got nothing from Pritchard at all, which again, I mean, he's sixth man. Maybe jump the shark with the star talk, but no, I'm not saying one bad game. Again, I think we saw this last time.
And I think this was a Jrue night. It was a Jrue night.
Right. And last time we had a back-to-back. He didn't do much the first night, and then he came out, had a monster second night. So back-to-back tomorrow. Maybe Jrue doesn't play. Maybe Al doesn't play. Maybe one of the Jays gets a day off. Maybe Pritchard goes for 30. Wouldn't shock me. So again, not concerned about it, but just, talk about winning different ways. And then Derek White, too, completely uncharacteristic. I think he only made one shot, finally hit a shot in the fourth quarter, but what was he, like 1 for 11 from the field? Just,
1 for 10, 0 for 8 from 3.
Yeah, and again, I mean, that's going to happen, but it's just
still
crazy.
Finished as the second highest plus minus, too. That shows you what plus minus is.
And we say all the time
he's playing a lot with Tatum anyway, but.
Well, right, but and the other thing is he's just such a good all-around player that we always say, like, when we say, like, bad night for Derek White, that really just means bad shooting because he always does everything else well, but it's just like at this point we've so accustomed to him just knocking down like a ridiculous amount of hard shots, and so for him to go 1 for 10 and 0 for 8 from 3 is just like very bizarre. So again, to survive a completely off night from White, completely off night from Pritchard, great night from the Bucks stars, and still able to pull out the win like that again. Like I think if you're the Bucks, you got to be saying like, as much as they probably are feeling like, okay, like we played well enough, some things to build on, but also just like, Jesus, man, we got really fucking far to go to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, they threw their best shot, and All right. I have one. So before we do our Chuddy Chains, I have something that the Jalen Tech kind of well, it's been, and this isn't like my total original take. I've seen this a little bit online, and it's kind of like
Alright.
I've been slowly, it's been kind of radicalizing me lately. All right. A lot of people complain about like viewership or whatever down in the NBA. It's not as fun as it used to be, whatever. I don't agree with that,
I think
but
that's
I will
idiotic.
say, what's that?
I think that's idiotic.
Okay, well, right, and I don't agree with that, and that's not what this is all about. But to me, it's like when I think about it, and I was talking with a buddy of mine who felt that way recently. I feel like what's missing that used to be in the game a lot was like players having personality, players being like edgy, kind of having like this sort of like fun craziness to them. And I feel like the NBA has just gone out of their way to like eliminate that, to like cut the nuts off of like anyone who's like that. The way they called Tex, the tech on Jalen was ridiculous. The John Morant ejection last night was absolutely ridiculous. We've seen techs on Tatum a shitload all the time that are just like ridiculous. It's like it's not fun if the players are all just having to be this like uniform behavior of like that's expected of all players. And that I feel like is what the NBA sometimes is kind of, whether it's on purpose or not, doing with the way they like over officiate emotional reactions from players. Players should be able to like wag a finger in someone's face. Players should be able to like say like, oh yeah, like fucking got you. Like they should be able to say this shit to each other, and it shouldn't be a big deal. I don't know if it's like ever since the Mouse, the Palace, they're just terrified something like that's going to happen again or what it is. But to me, like I think of like Rasheed Wallace, like obviously before he was in the Celtics, but when he was in the Celtics, like screaming like "ball don't lie," like that was just like hilarious. Like I feel like you watch not for that, but that keeps you there. Personality, players being able to be psychopaths and not like, and the refs, they just fucking get into everything. The whole incident with Giannis and Jalen, like even the elbow thing, Jalen, but that to me is great theater. That's entertainment. If you're watching the game, that is like what you're hoping to see. One, the guys give a shit, and two, it's just great theater. It's WWF. It's fucking professional wrestling. Like that's what what did he do? He pointed towards him like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. I just don't get, and I feel like that I'm not saying again, I don't agree with the idea that this year hasn't been fun or whatever, but I just think to me, the thing that if I had to point to something, if I had to take that side and make a case, I would begin with the refs basically just sucking the fun and sucking the emotion and sucking the personality out of all the players in the league. Like, that's my rant. The rest, the whole thing with Jalen was so dumb. Him and Giannis, everyone knows they have a beef right now. They should be able to kind of jaw back and forth. Neither one of those guys, once in their life, has gone off the handle and started throwing punches. It's not going to happen tonight. It's not going to. Just let them jaw a little bit. Let them have a little fucking fun, for God's sakes.
All right. Well, I agree with your general sentiment that the refs suck. My bigger issue than I guess the technical is being called to me is just frustrated that there's no like consistency outlined of what constitutes a tech. It just decides on any given night. It's too much gray area for the ref to be like, I'm calling this attack right now. This time I'm not calling it attack. Like I at least make it a uniform policy of what is attack so that even if you don't like it, you can accept like, okay, I know he did that. That equals attack. Okay, he didn't do it. Like, and even for the players, so there's a line to cross. So at least they can be like, I'm pissed about you called it, but I at least like know that is attack. It's not like just you made it up. But a couple things. One, I don't think this is some new weird thing. It's funny you alluded to Rasheed Wallace in that when this year that you're saying so awesome, he had 41 technicals. He had 41 technicals this season. So it's not like they weren't calling them technicals then. He just didn't give a fuck.
True.
So
that's honestly very fair. Maybe Rasheed Wallace wasn't the best example, but I just miss ball don't lie. But fair counterpoint.
Also, I don't think saying ball don't lie would get called technical foul. I think there's probably more leeway than you agree with. Like, for example, before that play, Jalen,
they made ball don't lie a tech when Rasheed was playing. I remember it. I remember he had to stop doing it.
Are you sure?
Yes. They made him screaming at attack. Yes.
I feel like I've definitely heard people say that and not get attack, but either way, that's kind of neither here nor there.
Scream it like the absolute maniac.
No, I know, but I don't know. Either way, that's a very specific minutia. But in general,
right.
So tonight, first, they made that play, and then Doc wanted to challenge it, or Doc was arguing after the Jalen basically too little Dame. He just knocked him over. Doc yelled for a foul. Jalen turned around and told Doc to shut the fuck up. Refs didn't do anything. Then on that Giannis play, like again, he did the aggressive too little right in his face. Giannis threw the elbow. He pointed right in his face, started backing off. Ref didn't call anything. He went back and pointed right in his face again. I think he almost wanted to get called for the technical, like I said. So I think they let him get away with a little more. Then the one other thing, were you actually watching the John Morant game last night?
No. I just saw the clip of him getting ejected.
Okay, so are you mad about the call or the technical?
I'm mad that it didn't seem to me like he was flipping out at the ref. It seemed like he was just screaming to himself in the corner, and that to me is totally fine. Like,
so I guess there's like two different issues here, because the thing is, to me,
but like I don't know if he friggin' pulled out a gun on the ref.
It was a terrible call. Ja did not foul the guy, so it was a bad call in the moment. The ref made a shitty call. It shouldn't have been a foul. But you're John Morant. You're the star player. It's a 1-point game. There's 6 minutes left. You already have a technical foul. You can't fucking lose your mind like an infant. So again,
but he didn't lose it at the ref.
He did, and he did it for 20 straight seconds on the court where the ref did nothing. Then he walked back to the huddle and started pointing and swearing at the ref to the point where I think his hands were almost tied, where he was like, all right, dude, I get it was my call. I let you flip out, and you're just giving me basically no choice but to you're daring me to do it. So again,
so maybe I didn't do my due diligence on the John Morant.
And also, even if you say oh, that's bullshit, whatever, I'm more mad of at this point in your career, John Morant, you have to fucking just know better. Yes, the call sucked. Move on. It's a 1-point game with 6 minutes left. Your team fucking needs you. You can't. If I was a Grizzlies fan, I'd be mad at the ref, but I'd be way more mad at Morant. So
yeah, the clip I saw was him just initially bitching.
The refs do suck. They've made some bad calls, and again, someone made the point today talking about there's just been consistently bad reffing. Not even just the techs, but just too many fouls, too much bullshit in general. It does seem like it almost kind of reminds me of last year, and I feel like this happens almost every year, and we kind of just forget about it, where the refs come out trying to almost set the tone early in the season, being super whistle happy and kind of laying out the groundwork for these are the points of emphasis this year. You're not going to get away with this. Then around the All-Star game, it kind of flips. And if you remember last year, it was people were out there being the league definitely told them to call it differently. It got more physical. It got better, and everyone was happy. So I feel like we're probably headed into another overcorrection.
My issue isn't even the physicality calls. It's more just let guys jaw for a little bit. Yeah. Don't be afraid of that. It's good theater. It's good entertainment. It gets people into it. And honestly, at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that happens is a player throws some shitty punch, no one gets hurt, and they split up. It's baseball does it fucking 4 times a week. Who cares?
Man,
there's not gonna be another Malice in the Palace. There's just not.
Let's hope not.
I mean, I don't know. I think it'd be kind of sick.
Oh no! I mean, I'm not saying I want it or not, but I'm just saying there's no reason to think that there could be. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, just let him have a little fun. Let the guys jaw. Let them do entertainment. But anyway,
I'm with you.
That was I had a little rant. That I just thought that Jalen Tech was still stupid. I mean, it
was stupid.
Let those two go back and forth.
It was stupid. I agree, and it was again.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a very
he pointed his finger at
officiated game.
Terrible officiated game.
But again, my bigger takeaway and the thing that makes me happier about it is that the Celtics really at no point let it get to them. Whereas if anything, it seemed like the Bucks kind of did. And the Celtics just played through it. And it was we became the more physical game. We adjusted to the way they were calling the game and used it to our advantage. And it helped us ultimately win the game. So that's the mark of the better team. And the team right now, that's the championship team. So kind of saw it tonight. It's we'll fucking overcome whatever we have to. We're not going to get in our own heads and lose a game because the calls aren't going our way. Because sad reality is we can sit here and rant about it all we want, but the refing is always going to probably suck in one way or another.
Well, yeah.
And some nights it'll benefit us, some nights it'll be a wash, some nights it'll just be bad. But at the end of the day, all you can ask is for your team to tune it out and go out there and fucking play well.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Leave the ranting to us, Celtics players. Yeah. You guys just know that if you're frustrated, that you do the thing, win the game. We'll get on the podcast after and bitch on your behalf.
And I think the Celtics even went on a 12-5 run directly following the technical foul. So
true. So maybe Jalen didn't know what he was doing there.
I think he did. I bet if you got him on a polygraph, he'd say he wanted the tech to prove a point.
Wow, that'd be sick. Probably wouldn't be the first question I'd ask, but yeah. All right. Let's go with some Chuddy Chains. I
got a few more things. Hold on. I got a few more things on this. I had a lot of just random notes. I just got to stop to real quick. So we've already talked about kind of a tough game for Pritchard. That one stretch in the first with Pritchard and Hauser, where it was 3 awful possessions. The one they had the fast break, they tried that ridiculous behind the back pass, Hauser to Pritchard, and they just like didn't
Not
even get a
great.
shot.
Yeah.
Should have been a layup. Then they had the one possession where it was like they played this 2-man game, just created 0 advantage whatsoever, and settled for like the worst brick 3. I was
The
like,
funniest thing was when that
like
was first starting
all year.
When that was first starting, they were passing back and forth. I was like, "Ooh, how's their Pritchard 2 game?" Then I was like, "Okay, well, I don't know what's going on here. This isn't working." I was so excited at first, and then I was like, "Okay, hold on a second."
That was not great, not great at all. But then also got to mention too, just Bobby Portis, hilarious game. He's so like bad, but what did he?
So
how
bad
many
at
rebounds did he
shooting,
finish with?
so good at rebounding.
He must have had like what, almost 20 rebounds. He had almost 6
he finished
offensive
with
rebounds in the first
18
half.
rebounds. Yeah,
Absolutely
18
absurd.
rebounds, 7 offensive rebounds.
Absolutely absurd. That was
But
awesome.
I think he also finished
He was
4 for 15 from the field.
Yeah, like just unbelievable stat line, truly. You don't see that every day. Wild game. He is just so brutal, absolutely killing them. He cannot play anymore at all. They need to find a way to replace his minutes with someone somewhat competent, but I'm not sure how they're really going to do that. But just an observation.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of hard not to notice it. There was that play where Giannis went in and Al defended him well, and Giannis almost like dragged Al down by his shoulder.
That was a terrible call.
It was a terrible call, and I have a theory that Joe knew he would have won the challenge, but he just didn't challenge because he knew that the crowd was going to see it and go absolutely apeshit while Giannis was shooting free throws. And I think he was just like, strategically, I'd rather him just have to go shoot these hostile fucking free throws, and he did miss at least one of them. So I think that was a strategic no challenge, to be honest. I also thought it was. We've talked a little bit about the challenge system and how reliable certain players are. Al called for the challenge on the out of bounds. Joe immediately challenged. So
yeah, but I feel like Al calls for it every time. He calls for it every time. I don't think he's like he calls for it and gets it.
I don't know.
Al every single time is like, and I respect it, but I don't think he's.
I feel like Al and Jrue are the kind of guys, if they argue, they don't argue if they're not right.
Because I didn't even think that Al one was that clear.
It was very close. I didn't see a conclusive replay. I was glad we won it. But then, in contrast to that, I thought it was hilarious. Moments after that, Dame reached in on a Tatum shot and had one of the more aggressively confident, immediately yelling at his bench to challenge. Couldn't have hacked him anymore. Like, why would you even do that? Like,
did they didn't challenge it though? Did they? No, yeah, they were like, no,
like,
dude, what are you talking about?
I was like, how can he even think to say that?
That would go. Yeah, it's like, you know, they're gonna watch the tape. Yeah.
So I know he was like fired up in the moment, but I could not believe that happened.
Terrible.
And then just the last thing on the game that happened, funny moment when there were a lot of chatter about the new Derek White lager from Sam Adams, and
yeah, I gotta find some.
Offered. He said he wanted to go drink for drink with Forsberg, Jrue, and Scal, so you could drink one to the table. And they were kind of joking about it, and like after it was silent for a minute, and Jrue was kind of like, I could definitely take it. And there was just like silence, and they moved on. So I just thought that was kind of funny. Just casually.
I think Jrue sneaky parties because they made a few comments about him. Like there was a couple of games ago they were like, they're talking about blacking out, like not drinking, just like blacking out like generally, and they're like, and Scal's kind of looking at him, he's like, Jrue, when's the last time you blacked out? And he was kind of quiet. He's like, last night. So I think that there might be. I mean, he's what? He's like 25, 26.
Yeah.
So.
Oh no, I mean,
yeah. Got it,
certainly not. And
I remember too when they had they had that like video of him and Gorman going out to eat in like the North End or something like that, and Gorman was drinking a soda and he was drinking a beer. I remember being like, "All right, I see you, Jrue. I see what kind of game you're running here.
Love
Respect it.
Yeah, that's good shit." So that was just funny moment from the broadcast tonight. But that's pretty much it. Awesome game. Could go on longer, but I think we covered it.
Yeah, no, this was a great game. Absolutely great game. But yeah, I think we covered most of it. Yeah, the Bucks, they're dead. We killed them too. They're dead too.
Yeah, crazy. Well, they got that NBA Cup to play for, so good for them. That's
right. They're looking ahead. Yeah,
more their speed.
They're looking ahead at the NBA Cup.
That's more their speed. They can play for that.
All right, let's give out a few Chuddy Chains. I think it might be you this time first. So go ahead.
Shit, I mean, it is. Oh man, it's such a tough call between honestly 4 guys who all on any given night their performance completely would have earned them a Chuddy Chain. but I am actually going to give it to Jaylen Brown because I think the way he set the tone tonight, coming out and just elevating, I think the atmosphere, not only for his teammates, but the entire building, he like showed that like we are here to not fuck around from the tip. And that carried through to all of his teammates. And again, I could have given it to a lot of other guys, but I think he was the one who kind of led that charge and got everyone onto that level.
Yeah, I also feel kind of the same way. I'm kind of sitting here right now going between two different guys. I think I'm going to give it to, because it was the former team, I'm going to give it to Jrue Holiday. And also just because of, I wouldn't say he's been struggling, but I'd say the scoring wise hasn't been the same. So the fact that he got out there, had a great shooting night, scored some points against his former team, had the big shot at the end. And again, just was playing some good defense, picking up Giannis a few times. A couple of times I was kind of like, all right, like, let's get someone else on. I'm like, hey, I love you, Jrue, but
he always holds
but overall, I thought it was pretty solid night from Jrue. It's good to see him kind of come back and bounce back. I do think that Tatum would have been my other choice. I think that was probably someone on your list.
Or Al.
And again, we don't always give it to Al too. We don't always give it to the stars, but I do think Tatum, like, just the way he came out in the fourth quarter and was like, guys, we're not fucking losing this game.
Yeah.
Was great. So, but I'm going to give it to Jrue. So I think Jrue and Jalen both deserving of the Chuddy Chains tonight. So
definitely well deserved. Jrue, two times this year, Jrue has reached 20 points, both against the Bucks.
Both against the Bucks, yep. So keep that. Oh, fuck, they don't play him again. I was going to say, keep it in mind for the Chuddy. They don't play him. Chuddy Bar lost tonight too. It was I got the right system. I'm just plugging in the wrong guys. I got to tweak the algorithm a little bit here. Got the right idea, the right idea, just the wrong execution. But like the Celtics, it's process over results. So all right, we'll pay some bills and get over to some around the NBA talk. Chuddy's Corner, shout out to the sponsor. Chuddy's Corner is sponsored by Nick Perino Real Estate. Check out nickperino.com for all your real estate needs. That's NICKPIRAINO, nickperino.com. He's got you covered for everything real estate, big, small, local, statewide, citywide, countrywide, international, everything, intergalactic. Make sure you're checking out nickperino.com. Kid loves moving. Kid loves helping you move. No brainer. Match made in heaven. All right. I was just watching a commercial on the broadcast for the Derek White ale. I gotta find some. Gotta find some.
Out everywhere.
Is it?
That's what he said. So I don't know.
Oh, wow. Fuck. That might be a good YouTube video. We just get blackout on Derek White ale. How many Derek White ales until we can't hit a layup?
Send Jrue a DM. See where he wants to meet.
I love it.
We'll meet Jrue, Al Forsberg, and the Chuddy boys.
Oh, man. That would be something. That would be something. The Chuddy boys versus those three. We'll take them on 2-on-3 handicap match. Let's go, baby. Let's go, Forsberg. Let's go, Scal. Let's go, Jrue.
I kind of like
it. I want you. All right, here we go. Anyway,
I love it.
Around the NBA, what do you got? What's going on around the league?
So, a lot of stuff, but again, we got another game tomorrow night, and we talked a lot about this one, so I'll save all the game stuff tomorrow. We can do it deeper around the NBA, so we can take a minute here to preview tomorrow night's game, and to talk about one bit of somewhat somber news, but everyone knew the big story. One of the big stories this offseason, obviously the premier newsbreaker in the NBA for a long time, Adrian Wojnarowski, leaving ESPN to become the GM for his alma mater, St. Bonaventures. He opened up on a piece with actually our enemy of the podcast, Chris Mannix, in kind of a long form story where he detailed what happened and basically revealed that he has prostate cancer. And that's a big part of the reason he stepped down. There's some crazy stuff in there. Really, really good article by Ramona Shelburne too, I think it was, who kind of told the whole story. And there was a piece in there about him saying how he noticed how basically nobody went to Mort's funeral from ESPN. It was just a wake up call.
Which is so depressing.
I know,
that was so sad.
I think it was just kind of reflecting on the business of Jesus Christ, my whole life is following this shit that at the end of the day, he's I just had to step back and be I'm going to enjoy my life. And, good for him. And it's funny that he's saying that as he takes this job let out being the GM of his college is probably fucking sick. And I'm pretty sure in the story he said he moved back to his college town. He lives in this sick place, top of a bar. He said, he tweeted out too. He's that.
Yeah. Something like that. You kind of puts everything in perspective.
He tweeted out too. He's I'm going to be fine. I shared this story to raise awareness. And so other people will get treatment. Cause he's early diagnosis and getting checked is what's going to save me.
So his prognosis is good, you're saying?
That
That's
yeah, I
good.
mean, according to he said like I'll be fine. He's like I don't need everyone to. He's like I appreciate all the well wishes, but he's like I'm not doing this for like pity. I'm doing it so that other people will like
Right.
go get checked.
Well, that's
and
good because when I kind of
treat
read
it.
that, I was like, wait, Jesus Christ, is Woj
Yeah,
dying?
no, I know that's what I thought at first too, but no, it sounded more of it was just like a wake up call of like, all right, I don't want to spend. I'm already old. I don't want to
Yeah.
spend the rest of my life.
Honestly,
just, like,
though, shame
my
on ESPN. Like, that's crazy. Mort, that guy should be like interned at fucking ESPN. That guy was an absolute legend there.
he was.
That's
Although I'm
kind of
pretty
a
sure he was
shot.
an
I feel like
absolute
that's a
fuckface
shot.
about Spygate, but
Well, okay, yeah, that's fair.
but
That's
overall,
fair.
overall,
But honestly, yeah,
R.I.P.
bygones be
R.I.P.
bygones.
Yeah.
40 different ESPN though.
Great guy.
But yeah, no, that was one part of the article I read too. And I'm like,
That was just
honestly,
like,
like Woj, that's kind of like a shots fired at ESPN. Like he must have. I feel like there must be more like
Yeah.
about his splitting with ESPN. Like I wonder if they were trying to maybe court Shams a little early, and he was like got wind of it. Was kind of like, oh, all right, like
maybe.
I
mean,
feel like you don't say that unless you're trying to like throw some shade at ESPN.
well, I guess, but I think it was
He
more
didn't-
him just saying the hustle bustle nature of the job where everyone's just
I get that.
so
but he
focused on
coulda-
work and you move on from things 2 seconds
I
later.
feel like you
that
could have
means,
made
like,
that point without being
Yeah.
like nobody from ESPN went to Mort's funeral. Like how fucked up is that? Like I mean
Well,
that is pretty fucked up
Yeah.
when you think
Yeah.
about it. Like
No,
that's
I mean,
crazy.
I think it was more. I took it more as him just reflecting on like the industry and the profession as at large than the company. But yeah, I, mean,
I get that.
Either way,
I just
either
think
way.
you could have done that without saying that nobody went to this ESPN legend's funeral.
Right.
You could have easily been like, I've seen people, they gave their whole life to it, and they're not nothing really after that. He went out of his way to say no one at ESPN went to Mort's funeral.
Right.
Shots fired. But I'm glad that his prognosis is good because all I saw was kind of that clip, and I was like, wait, what? Like that's awful. Like what the fuck? So glad his prognosis is good.
Also he's always been like a sneaky kind of loose.
He's feisty.
He seems right.
Oh.
Who was the other?
Wasn't it like Ted Cruz? He told him to go fuck himself or something.
Yeah,
he
something
told
like
Ted
that.
Cruz to fuck himself. Yeah,
right. In like a press
That was
release,
good.
he just immediately responded like "fuck off."
Yeah,
and it was like a 3-page letter to him, and he just was like "fuck off" right back.
Yeah,
I think he got like
I do
fined or
remember that.
suspended,
Yeah,
but yeah. So shout out Woj, and happy
Yep.
again to hear that it sounds like it's at least he's going to be fine. But good for him for opening up, telling the story. And hey,
life's too short.
Unless they're playing, the Cuse, UMass, or a team that I have money on, I will be rooting for the Bonnies.
Go Bonnies.
Mm-hmm.
You want to save the rest of the stuff for tomorrow?
We'll save the rest for tomorrow.
Because we're going a little bit over, and tomorrow's a big game.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, we got a big one tomorrow. The Grizzlies coming to town. With the Grizzlies comes Marcus Smart.
Probably,
obviously, wasn't able to. Probably
questionably.
Yes,
I believe
wasn't able to play last year in his game back here. They had the video. It was very nice tribute. This would be the first time he's playing against the Celtics. Questionably. Go ahead. What do you got on this matchup with the Grizzlies? Because they're like the third seed right now, right?
Good team.
Yeah,
Grizzlies. I think they're 15-8 on the season, something like that in the Western Conference. They've got their team pretty much as healthy as they've been. Smart's questionable, but he's been playing. But they got Ja back. They got Desmond Baines come back. Jaren Jackson Jr. has been there. And the thing with this Grizzlies team is like as brutal as the last year was for them. And I think we all know how, they had to end up having 30 players and this and that. And it must have absolutely sucked and all that. But the light at the end of the tunnel is they now might have the deepest team in the league because they were forced to play all these random guys so much. And they hit them like so many guys from the G League. So now it's like, it's tough for them to get minutes. Last game, in that game we were just talking about, they beat the Kings. That was a great game. Their bench actually outscored their starters in that game 66-55. And they were closing with some of these guys. We've talked about a few of them on the show before. Scottie Pippen Jr. was a two-way guy who's become a really good player. Same for Gigi Jackson, who I think is out, but he's another guy they hit on. Jay Huff, they've discovered as a stretch big. He was a two-way guy who plays a lot for them. Jake LaRavia, end of the bench guy. He's a legitimate rotation guy now. This team, they just go very deep.
I feel like you're flexing, like, where does this guy play right now in the NBA? Shit on us right now.
No. But I mean, it's really, because again, they had the season from hell, and I think it is just cool to see that as bad as it was, they used that season. Yeah. And I think you're also seeing a way better version of Jaren Jackson Jr., too, who was a guy who was obviously unquestionably one of the best defenders in the league. But with all of those guys out last year, they kind of got to run their offense through him now. And now that he's back to his usual like second, third option role, you see like, oh shit, he actually has this really nice offensive package that he can utilize at times. So again, I think this is the team that people kind of slept on just because they were obviously so bad. But now that they have all these guys
Yeah.
back, and it's like they have this whole second team of guys too, who it's now like a really deep competitive bench. They've still kind of got that grit and grind nature, a really good coach in Taylor Jenkins. This is a fun team. I'm excited for it, and I think they're a really good team. I think the Thunder right now are kind of head and shoulders above the West, especially assuming, Chet comes back healthy. But beyond that, I'd say there's at least like 4 or 5 teams you could make a case for are kind of the second best team. And I think the Grizzlies are right in that mix, no doubt. And again, with all of those guys and all of those draft picks and stuff, the stuff that they've accumulated, they should be in the mix to make a trade too if someone becomes available or they want to shake things up a little bit. So really, really good team that I would say, at least so far, the public consensus hasn't quite caught up with. So I'm excited. Should be a good game. Hopefully we don't get too many guys sitting for the back-to-back. I do think we will miss their first-round pick, Zach Edey, who was a Rookie of the Year favorite. He's been out. I think he's missed the last 8 or 10 games or so with an injury. He's on his way back, but I don't think he'll be ready in time for tomorrow. So won't see that, but we'll see a hell of a lot of good players and should see a really good game.
Yeah, they were just, I don't know if you have the post game or whatever it is, post up one. They were just showing a great screen highlight package as we were talking about that.
Since he's come back, he started the first few games. I think he came into camp a little out of shape, didn't have a great start, missed a few games with an injury. He's come back and played the last 5 or so games, and he has looked like vintage Mark Smart on defense, just making awesome hustle plays one after another.
I don't know if I'm ready.
And he's been shooting the ball really well. So,
yeah.
It's going to be tough, but again, all things considered, I think we're lucky he went to a team that is about as like inoffensive to the Celtics as the Grizzlies could possibly be.
Oh yeah, I like the Grizzlies. Yeah, so, I honestly do. I like that team anyway.
Right. So a team that I'm more than happy to root for in the Western Conference. It'll be emotional. Hopefully things go well. Hopefully he plays well, and hopefully the Celtics get a win.
Yeah, so that'd be going. That's a little back-to-back there. Bruins play during the day too in the Garden too, so that'd be a Garden, that area around the Garden should be pretty good. Floor might be a little slippery, I've heard. Those little
too many good college football games. Sorry, can't do it.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to spare a screen. I'm just
all right. I also that reminds me of another point though, because you always see those like time lapse videos when they have to like change the arena over from like basketball to hockey, and they're like, oh my god, like this is so crazy. But like they probably do that right after anyway.
They're doing it right now, yeah.
But I'm saying, no. But like, even if the next game is 2 days later, it's like that same thing probably happens.
Oh, they just do it the day.
No one
they don't just like,
yeah, right. They make it seem like it's this like amazing thing.
Time where the people are just like, I'm fucking tired, dude. We'll come back tomorrow and do this shit.
I'm sure that's just like standard protocol. But when it's the same day, it's like, oh my god, like they're changing the whole thing over. Yeah, that's what they do every. Well,
because they were just doing it. I was wondering. I was like, are we playing tomorrow? Why are they doing that? And they looked. The Bruins at 1. It's brutal.
They both play 41 times in the building. I'm sure they're changing over. It's just like
that. Clock. Yeah. TD crew. They know what they're doing.
Hell yeah.
All right, we'll see everyone back here then tomorrow night. Looking forward to it. Celtics again get the win tonight over the Bucks. Season sweep, 3-0 against them. Sayonara. We'll see everyone back here tomorrow. Take care.
Peace out, Chuddy Heads.